welcome to Strike a Match. I am your host, Terry Finnegan Lynch, and I am partnering with Enlightenment Media for this wonderful opportunity to talk about positivity. And, you know, Sunday afternoons and evenings are becoming my favorite day, because this has become such an inspiration for me to be able to bring all these beautiful coaches to the platform to encourage you to ask, what do you want? And, you know, how can I find it? And, you know, is this a curious platform for you to just consider some stuff that might make your life a little bit better? I'm really delighted with my co-host tonight. Truly inspirational gal. There she is, Abby HAMBELL. You know, we come to this calling as coaches for many different reasons. And I really look forward to her share this afternoon about what she does. But she has this beautiful program of talking to women about how we dim our light and how to brighten that up. And she also has this beautiful program of infused jewelry, energy jewelry. So really different. That's what we do here every week. We bring totally different coaches to the table to share what they do and why they do it and how it serves our community in a positive way. And wow, I'm telling you, this has been quite a journey. Many of these coaches that you're seeing recently, have not been in my inner circle, and they now are. I'm so happy to have these new friends in my life as a coach. And, you know, it's a really great experience for all of us. You know, I'm a family coach. This is my company, Family Lifestyle Quest. I'm launching a new model of coaching, not only one-to-one, but I am creating a program that you can take online with your family. That'll be available in June. I'm really excited about how that can serve our families in a better way than just one-to-one. Sometimes it's hard to get our youngsters and young adults to agree to speak with somebody face-to-face. So maybe an online platform will be more comfortable. So that's coming up in the near future. So, you know, at the beginning of the show, I always talk about the strike. You know, why is this called Strike a Match? It's because the strike is that small amount of energy that lights a flame in our heart and our soul and our lives to consider if there's a change that we are really interested in, and what would that look like. So I always speak about paradigms because I coach in paradigms. I think they're really fun. Now, a paradigm isn't a scientific fact. It's kind of looking at an idea in a new way, kind of rather than going through the front door of your house, you come in the side door or even a window. And that's the idea here. It's just another way of considering something. So this paradigm today that I chose is one of my absolute favorites. You know, I was an athlete in high school and college, and, you know, was playing a game, right? I played field hockey in high school and ice hockey in college. So there was this game, you know, and I was always winning at this game. You know, you couldn't beat me on the field or on the ice. No way. But this paradigm is that we're always winning at the game we're playing. And it doesn't have to be on the field or in an ice rink. It's the game of life. And so I want to share first today the cartoon of we're always winning at the game we're playing. So I don't know if this is a very old photograph, but if you can take a peek at the two ladies in the front row of the roller coaster, their dresses are blowing up, their hair is flying, their hats are ready to fall off. And then look 2 seats back at the other girls sitting in the third row. Totally conservative, not sure that they can enjoy the ride, very dormant. So each of these gals are winning at the game they're playing, the game of life. So, what does this mean? I always ask that question at this point. So, what does my paradigm mean? So, this is a very humbling paradigm because the truth of the story is that whatever is going on in your life is exactly what you want. You're like, no, it isn't. I don't want to feel stressed over my children's unhappiness. I don't want to deal with COVID. I don't want to have this trouble with my husband. I don't want to have sick elderly parents. That's my life. And so the game we're playing, I like to frame it as being not the circumstance of the game we're playing, but our reaction to it. So yes, in our life, there are things that are totally out of control, out of our control. We are struggling with our kids, with social media, with long distance learning, with social isolation, with mental health issues, with depression, anxiety. It's huge, that challenge for our families. That's not the game I'm talking about. What I am talking about is how we react to what we cannot change. That is actually the game. So I really empathize and support parents that have children that are struggling so deeply. Please reach out to me. This is what I do as a family life coach, is I help parents and children navigate through that huge struggle. But why are we as parents winning at the game we're playing? Well, if your response to the tragic everyday going-ons of your family is that you are defeated, you have empowerment over that. And let me explain. So when I went off to college, I didn't want to actually go to college. And when I got there, I was a deer in headlights. So what did I do? I got a job in the pub and I joined the women's hockey team. I never went to the library. I hardly studied at all. And it was a drink fest for me. It was an ego boost to be, an athlete on a varsity team. And my coping mechanism was beer and wine at the Rathskeller. So came to graduate in 1979. And my mom had struggled with alcoholism most of my childhood. And so the two of us are at my graduation, shattered, totally drunk. The two of us. My dad didn't even come because it was just a shit show. And I don't blame him at all. So what happened was that my mom went into recovery in August of 1979. And on the 3rd of August, she began her sobriety journey, and she is still sober now at 84 years old. And this is the story. So I was just beginning my chronic journey with drinking. And my mom did not try to rescue me. What she did was she decided that she was going to live in her full abundance. She was going to live in her full potential. And she would be there for me, but she wasn't going to rescue me. Now, I understand if you have young kids at home that are still high school age, there's a lot of things that you have to do to keep them safe. I get that. But listen to the principle here. The game my mother decided to play was the one of self-care, not caretaking. Self-care versus caretaking. And so my mother became a pilgrim leader to a very holy land in Europe as a sober woman. She was very devoted to the Blessed Mother, and she became a pilgrim to a place called Medjugorje. And she brought thousands and thousands and thousands of pilgrims to this village to experience the joy of the Blessed Mother. Now, that was her calling. That was her space, that she found her purpose. Even though I was living with a sociopathic husband and raising 3 children in a home of addiction and violence. You would think that she would need to rescue me every day. And when I would call and say, please help me, she would come. We would put the kids in the car. We would go into hiding in some hotel with an made up name, stupid stuff. And I would go back in 3 days because I wasn't ready to get sober or to leave the situation. So I was winning at the game I was playing. I was a drunken mother and married to a sociopath. And I was playing the victim hero role. I was waking up every day, surviving complete chaos, trying to guide my children to a good life, yet was not capable of making any change in that dynamic of codependency between the two of us, his anger and my addiction. So that was the game I was playing. I played it for 16 years. And you would say, well, that's not what you want. But everything that you have is what you want. If this is harsh, this is humbling. If you are burdened by what's going on with your children, your husband, your job, your family, you own that perspective of burden. What I do as a life coach is give you permission to live in the light. And this is what Abby does. Abby is working with women who have lived to dim their light. We have different paths on how we coach, but the point is to bring us into the light despite the circumstance. It feels impossible, but it truly can happen. Are we the 2 gals in the front row of the roller coaster with our skirts flying up in the air and our hats ready to fall off? Well, I'm pretty sure those 2 gals probably don't have a great, 100% life. But on this particular day, they enjoyed each other's company. They went to have a good time. They were having a blast. They chose the front row of life and enjoyed it. And the 2 gals sitting 2 seats back brought their burdens with them to the amusement park. And that's the difference. Like, we're not going to change the facts of our lives. But if we approach it so that we are actually living the life that we want to live. My mother lived the life she wanted to live. She found her purpose despite the tragedy I was living in. And I understand. I was in my 20s. I was making my own decisions. It's different when you have young kids and teenagers. I get it. However, the principle is still the same. We're always winning at the game we're playing. And what is it that you want to experience that would be better than what you have right now, despite the facts of your life, the circumstances of your life? So we're always winning at the game we're playing. And I'm ready now to share with you a fun fact. I always say, don't just rely on me. Look at time-tested research of life coaching. This is the INLP Center of Learning, not the school I went to, but it's a school you can attend for life coaching. And their fun fact today that I borrowed is that coaching provides a different outlook on life. Being open-minded, self-aware, and considering a new perspective on life will give you a more positive and well-rounded outlook. So What's the roller coaster of life? Whew, it goes up and it goes down. It's scary. It's mind-blowing, right? However, a coach can anchor the perspective that opens your mind, that gives you a new opportunity to see the world through a different lens, to sit in the front row and let your skirt blow up, rather than sit in the third seat and be depressed and unhappy with the circumstances of our lives. It's a big ask. Coaching is where we hold that space for you in the big ask. What do I want? Can I have a different outlook on my circumstance, on my life? Being open-minded, self-aware, and consider a new perspective on on your life. It will give you a more positive and well-rounded outlook. Yay! We're winning at the game we're playing, and a coach can help you choose which field you want to be playing on. So one of the beautiful things that the great Doc P has done, not only in producing this podcast for me and for SM Enlightenment Media, but back in August, he invited me to create some public service announcements. And they're called Positive Tips for a Better Life with Terry Finnegan Lynch. And one of them, my most favorite, which I preempted at the beginning of this broadcast, is we are always winning at the game we are playing. So this was recorded back in August, and it holds true all the time. So here you go. A positive tip for a better life.
Positive tips for a better life with Terry Finnegan Lynch.
Everyone is winning at the game they are playing. The life you have is the life you want. So if you want that to be different, you have to change the game. Because we're always going to win at the game we are playing. Step back and see, which jersey would you like to wear in the game of life? I'm a health and life coach, and these are Terry's positive tips for a better life.
WSME.
So you're hearing the same message in a number of ways. You're seeing it in a cartoon. You're seeing it in my dialogue. You're seeing it in our fun fact. And you're seeing it in a positive tip for a better life. So I wonder, can you strike a match? Can you consider, is where I'm living, the game I'm playing, where I want to be? You know, am I scoring a touchdown, or, you know, am I sitting on the sidelines, figuring that I can't even pick up the bat? Life is hard. Life is hard. Raising a family is complicated. It doesn't have to stay that way. I am a family life coach. And why am I? Well, because I raised my family, my children, my 3 kids, in a home of addiction and violence. And I say this every once in a while on the show about my children being wiser than my former husband and I could ever even consider. You know, we got married and we did not deal with the baggage that we had from our own childhood. I was drinking since college. He had been angry since he was a kid. We just kind of ignored it. And we're like, oh, we can do this better. We're just going to get married, buy a house, and have kids. Well, when you don't deal with your stuff, you inadvertently pass it on to your children. So, my mom was an alcoholic. My dad was a workaholic. You know, I grew up kind of lonely. I kind of self-raised myself. And I, wanted to do it better. And what happened? I mean, I raised my kids in a violent home. I didn't make it any better. My gosh, my life was like a picnic compared to what my children had to deal with. And that was never my intention. So when Allie was a young girl, 10 years old, she said to her dad, "You're so consumed by your own pain, you don't know how much you're hurting everybody else." 10. Do you know how old 10 is? That's like 4th grade. And Brian at 16, so 10th grade, said to me, "I will not live like this another day. One of you has to go." He was advocating for himself. And I'd been trying to get sober for 3 years in recovery programs, and I just couldn't stay sober. And, I was winning at the game I was playing, the one that said, "I'm going to stay." Brian was winning at the game he was playing. He's like, I'm not doing this anymore. And so between the two of us on that morning, it was Halloween morning, I said to Brian, "Well, your dad's not going to leave, Bri." And he said, "I know." And I said, "Well, if I leave, it's because I love you, not because I don't." He said, "I know that too." And I took my car keys and my pocketbook and I left my two 16-year-old twins at home with their dad. They had both done community service abroad. Allie in Belize, she built a roof on an elementary school, and Brian in Belfast, Ireland, taking care of orphaned children. 16 years old, these kids initiated that themselves, wiser than you can imagine. But I knew that day that I could live an hour away if my kids could live a country away. And so I left. And my sober date is 11/11, less than 2 weeks later, because now I was playing a different game. I was out of the chaos. I was responsible for my own well-being. The game, I changed the entire playing field. Brian gave me permission to change the playing field. And sometimes it's that big a shift that, begins a whole new journey. And that was what happened for me at 45 years old. And, gosh, amazing, right? That a kid at 16 knew the game he wanted to play was totally different than the one I was delivering to him. And he wouldn't stand for it. So when we're when we're standing in a game that we do not deserve to be in, it is our right and our responsibility to stake claim to what we truly want, because we will not have what we truly want unless we declare it, until we ask for it, until we make it happen. And coaches are the way to help people do that. So now we're going to segue over to the sponsorship portion of our show. Please enjoy these service announcements. They're the guys that pay the bills, and they're the reason that we're here, able to offer you positivity. So come on board, listen in, and we'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. Oh, I always get to this point and feel such heartfelt appreciation to the great Doc P and SM Enlightenment Media for, giving me the opportunity to share what I do and why I do it and how it can help people. That's the strike. So if this is of any interest to you, if this resonates with you at all, my website is familylifestylequest.com. Come on board. You can book an appointment with me for a discovery conversation. It's free. Just match my calendar to yours, and there you go. So what's the second half? The match. Well, that's about rapport. Finding a coach that can help you shift is about connecting with them. And that's why I do this show, to bring you all these beautiful people who have a very specific intention and purpose in the coaching world to bring change and positivity to you. So I'm really delighted to bring Abby HAMBELL onto the program. There she is, and here she is in real life.
Hello.
Hi, Abby. So
Hi there.
Abby and I met, like I've been mentioning, some of these coaches I'm meeting for the first time. The beginning of my broadcast were all friends in my inner circle, and Abby was introduced to me by another coach. And when we first talked, she was in London. and now she's in California.
Yes.
So she's across the continents. But welcome to the show, Abby. It's wonderful to have you here and share about your journey as a coach and what you do that is so special. What I like to start off with is, how did you get here? Tell me your story. What's your best kept secret?
How did I get into coaching?
Mm-hmm.
Well, for me, it was being in a place where I actually had just moved to California from Chicago. I got a big promotion at the job that I had been working at the time. And it was a promotion that came with a lot of expectation of success. And my previously laid back boss became an overbearing nightmare. And I'd been working in this place for about, 8 to 10 months where I was working nonstop, day and night. And I was also in a long distance relationship that was just emotionally taxing. And my body started to break down. I got so sick. I was the sickest I'd ever been. I started breaking out like an eczema on my arms and legs. And as we know, when your body starts to rebel against you, it's time to ask, okay, what's being rejected here? And so it was on the eve of my 30th birthday where I was like, okay, I need to do something different. I need to see and figure out exactly what I want to do. And coincidentally, I mean, I've always been fascinated with people, why we do the things we do, why we make the choices that we make. And actually my college major was social anthropology, which is the study of people and society and culture. And so it's like, there probably couldn't be a better prereq for the actual coach training that I did. But up until that point, I didn't even realize that coaching was something you could really do as a career, a profession. And so I started looking into it and was like, I think I could actually really do this. And so I did it. I took the leap and started to believe.
What a great birthday present. So I don't always know a lot about my coaches when I bring them on as co-hosts, but I have to mention two things. So my daughter lives in Chicago.
Okay.
And she was the little one who said, Dad, you're so consumed by your own anger. You don't know how much you're hurting everybody else at 10 years old.
Yeah.
But she majored in medical anthropology.
Wow.
At the University of Michigan. And they actually.
I also went to Michigan.
No.
I'm from Michigan originally. So yeah, U of M.
Wow. Well, she said when she left New England at 17 years old, she's like, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. I'm going to become a Midwesterner. And, there she is raising a beautiful family. She's pregnant right now and having her second child. But small world, right? So here's these two things, Chicago and anthropology as an understanding of human nature.
Yes.
Just extraordinary. So that's the big ask, right? We're all invited at any point in time in our lives to step back and say, what do I want?
Exactly.
Man, we often just ignore the answer, right?
Well, we ignore it. And I think that, as women, we're so preconditioned to really fall in line. It's like you learn from birth to be pretty and be nice and be polite and just don't be too loud and just do as you're told. And luckily now that paradigm is really starting to shift, and we're seeing people who are now having children, consciously parenting different, but there are so many women, so many people, but for me personally, the people that I coach, so many women who are like going through the deconditioning process and don't realize that they are, and they don't know how to navigate that on their own and really shed the layers of all of the things that have been thrust upon us since birth.
Yeah, it's fairly interesting because it's not like our predecessors or our legacy of family meant to do us any injustice.
Exactly.
What
they knew.
They did what they did. They did what they knew, and And so are we doing any better? I feel that without guidance, we're kind of a wing and a prayer.
Exactly.
Mike and I had every intention of doing it well, and we just it was a time bomb.
Yeah.
But I remember in early recovery, I was going to see an osteopath, a gentleman who literally saved my life. And I was early, so I stopped into a bookstore and I was going to get this book, and it wasn't there. And next to it was Marianne Williamson's story, A Woman's Worth.
Mm.
And do you know the book?
I don't, but I love Marianne Williamson, and that her quote, our deepest power or our deepest fear is that we're inadequate. That's had a huge impact on me.
Well, she said this story was about the goddess within women, and that the way that we're going to change the world is to actually embrace that goddess within, because when goddesses ruled the world, it was a very happy place. But she invited me to consider what that would be like, and so that is your practice, is really truly focusing on that inner light that we naturally dim to kind of be compliant with what we've learned. And so tell me how your program works. How do you help these gals?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like I was just saying, we're so programmed to keep our light dim. It's like we're afraid to be seen because we don't want to be rejected. We're afraid to be too big or too loud or say too much. And so it's being this safe space for women to really take a deeper look at themselves for probably the first time ever, and look at the beliefs that they've been holding on to since they were kids, and looking at all of the parts of themselves, the light and the dark, and allowing all of those parts to be seen, allowing it to not be good and bad, just to simply be, and experience that, the radical self-acceptance and self-love, and so that you can then bring all of those pieces forward into the light and honor each of those pieces. And from that place, create the experience, the relationships, the life, the health that you want to be having in your life, instead of, being a bystander to your life, being an active participant, being an active creator. I think, especially in this day and age, and with the year that we've had, people waking up and immediately getting onto your computer. It's like you don't even have the break of time where you're maybe getting into the car and you have this space to listen to a podcast, or, kind of get into your headspace for the day. It's like you're immediately jumping on the computer, and you're not even taking the time to think about how you want your day to go, putting the intention forward of what kind of experience do I want to be having today. And we get carried away, instead of consciously creating.
So when people reach out to you, and then they ultimately say no, what do you think the reason is?
From what I've seen, it always feels like there's this underlying belief that they are not worthy of the investment, whether it's, it's the investment of financially investing, but also the time. It's like taking the time on you, on me, especially as women, taking the time for ourselves is such a foreign concept, because we're such caregivers, and we want to be taking care of other people. And so it's like they have to really think about whether or not they are worth their own investment.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know that to be true on what I do too, because I'm dealing with mothers a lot, and the just all the balls in the air, so I that resonates with my nose as well. So what do you find is the most convicting reason people say yes? What's the biggest goal that they have to work with you?
It's like getting to this place where their back is against the wall and they cannot keep going forward with the life that they've been living. And that was my own experience as well. Like I said, I'd gotten to this place where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to do something different. I need to take a step in a different direction. And I think that women come to me because they're like, I keep doing all of these things that I was told were going to make me feel like life was worth living. And I'm at this point and it doesn't really feel like it's worth it, or like, this is it. It's like they come with this whole feeling of, is this really all there is? Because I feel like I'm overworked, I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm doing all of these things for other people because that's what success looks like. But I feel horrible and I feel like I don't even know who I am or what I want.
I know, isn't that so sad? That place that we find ourselves in, where it is, a couple of decades that we've put into this process, and
right.
And it's like, who am I? Where am I? And the good news is that we can up level, we can reboot, we can reframe, with support to change that.
Right.
And so I'd love you to share this beautiful, your magic of intention, your jewelry line. So on your neck is that arrow.
Yes.
And I know you have the rose quartz and citrine and some beautiful jewelry. So tell us about how this came to be and what it is.
Well, so I mean, each aspect of this is the initial necklace that I created for the jewelry line. And the arrow in itself is so meaningful to me because I think it was the first year that I moved to California, and I was in a secondhand shop and I saw this little piece of artwork that had a gold arrow on it that looked exactly like this. So when I found this arrow charm for the necklace, I was like, that's the one. And on there it said, don't look back, you're not going that way. And it was just such a reminder that, we always want to look back. We want to look back the mistakes that we've made, or we look back at the experiences that we've had, which is not a bad thing, but it can cause us to stay stuck and not move forward. And the other thing with the arrow is that oftentimes when we feel like we're at the worst part in our life, when we feel like we're getting pushed down or pulled back, like the arrow, you have to get pulled back in order to shoot forward.
Right.
And so that is such great imagery for me. And then with the rose quartz crystals, rose quartz, if people don't know much about crystals, it's the crystal for universal love and for self-love and romantic love. And I mean, self-love, that is the whole basis for my program. It's learning to love all the parts of yourself. And even just where the necklace sits, right on the throat chakra, so that you're speaking out your desires, you're speaking out your intentions right from this place. And that's where you are then infusing those intentions into the crystals. And so the necklace, I mean, all of the jewelry comes with a 30-minute intention setting session. And that's for you to have somebody else who's outside of you, an objective, observer, to witness what you're speaking into existence and to help you clarify exactly what your vision is for yourself and your desires, so that you can infuse that into your necklace. And also with coaching, it's like how important it is to have touchstones, to have those anchors to the life that you're creating. And so I wanted to create something that was just a beautiful piece of jewelry, but also comes with this extra service piece to it, because it's not just something you can buy for yourself, but if you have a friend or a family member who's going through a hard time and you think them having just 30 minutes to talk to somebody would help them, then that's also a gift, outside of just getting them a nice piece of jewelry.
Beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. I appreciate the symbolism. There's a poem. Of course, I don't pronounce names well, and I don't remember them at all. But it's about the bow and the arrow, as far as parents and children. That we as parents are the bow, and our child is the arrow, and it is about letting go. And apologize, phone.
No worries.
But I wanted to share one other thing. I happen to have right here. So a few years back, I did some NLP training with Michael Burnoff. And at the very end of the weekend, we were in Arizona. I paid $1,000 to go up on stage with an arrow. The other part of this I lost, but he put the tip in a block of wood that he held, and this went in my throat here. And each of us, there were hundreds of us, that stepped into the block of wood and snapped the arrow with our throat without causing any injury at all.
Wow.
And what had happened was, in that weekend of transformation, we relinquished the doubt that we had about who we were. And the few people that could not break the arrow, you could sense that they didn't get there. But this is my arrow of transformation, about letting go of the stories of my childhood, because they didn't serve me anymore. They were holding me back. And, there's many, many ways that we can process how to, elevate ourselves. And it's all a journey. And, this session that you offer is a mini example of, that conversation about how direction and poignancy and intention and support can change your mind and create something more for us. So I love how that we have had so many segues of similarity in what what we've gone through, and how we bring our gifts to our clients. So tell me, do you have kind of, not a testimony, but just maybe a time when someone went, aha, that just was like, wow, that was so fun, so cool?
Yes. I was thinking about this morning, just that it's always, people think that you have to do these huge things, or that you have to make huge changes in order to get, experience huge results. And in my experience, it's always the tiny shifts that we're making every day. It's the tiny choices. It's the tiny steps forward. And just recently, one of my clients, a woman who is so, she's making so many steps forward all the time. And just something as little as her rediscovering, her love of music, and bringing music back into her life, going on walks and listening to her favorite songs, or coming up with new playlists, or listening to finding new artists. She was like, it's brought so much joy back into my life that I forgot wasn't there, because she wasn't prioritizing her joy. She wasn't prioritizing herself at all. And so it's something as simple as just considering, what would make me feel good in this moment? What are things, places, people that make me feel good? And knowing that, so that you can consciously choose to bring those things into your life. But we are so, like we've talked about, you just go, and you're constantly taking care of, you're not thinking about what's going to make me happy. And so that she was just like, thank you, like such a heartfelt, like, thank you for that. And I was like, I didn't even do anything. You did it. This is all you.
Isn't that great? I mean, the muddy waters, I think that, there's a phrase I use: in the disguise of virtue, taking care of others, I neglect myself. And in that, I do not brighten the world. I do not make the world a better place if my light is dimmed.
Exactly.
And the clearing the path, holding space for someone to discover just what that might be. One of my very, very, very first client was a 74-year-old woman who had been an author, and she hadn't written a story in a very, very long time. And in our time together, she wrote a children's book, and got it published on Amazon in our first, time together. And it was a little story about a boy on a baseball field, and the groundskeeper became, his confidant and his coach, so to speak. And that book was in her already, right?
Yeah.
She couldn't find it without, the space that we create for people to ask for what they want, to be brave and bold and, accountable to that joy,
Well, and to even believe that something that's possible for them. I was saying this I was talking in a Facebook group a couple of days ago, and I was like, the magic is not in these processes. The magic is in you changing your mind. It's in you deciding to believe something different, and then seeing what differences result because of that.
And that's the thing that, is extraordinary. When I was living in my darkness, the world was a smaller place. When I started to live in my light, it became a more bountiful place, because I was showing up. And the in service of others isn't enough. We need to be in service of ourselves to truly have that pebble in the water effect on the wellness of the world, the positivity of the world. So, Abby, I'm delighted to share this stage with you. To your website is your name, abbyhambell.com. It's beautiful, simplistic. The energy is lovely. So if this match resonates with you, audience, give Abby a shout out, and talk to her about either getting an infusion jewelry session or working with her as a coach. Beautiful options, small or large, right? Both wonderful.
Something for everybody.
Something for everybody. I love it. And these intentions that we have are here to serve. And, we are very grateful for all who consider striking a match.
Well, thank you so much, Terry.
You're so welcome, Abby. Enjoy California, and we will, I'm sure, talk again soon. Thank you for being a part of the show today. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I love what I do. It's a beautiful opportunity to experience the joy and hope that people bring to this world. SM Enlightenment Media is totally committed to positivity. They're giving me this opportunity to share my version of it. And I want to thank you so very much. Please honor our sponsors and have a wonderful night. Thank you.